Hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this video. My name is Kabir, and it's my pleasure to be addressing you for the next 20 minutes. Just a brief introduction about myself. Born and brought up in Chennai, actually a Tamilian, but you won't guess it from my name. Studied in Trichy, did my MBA, then went on to join Unilever, spent 23 years in Unilever in the finance function across the globe, actually. India, Netherlands, UK. Back in 2016, we decided to come back to India, and I joined Microsoft then as the CFO for their Indian business. Until recently, I was with them, and I decided to move on. And I was exploring various opportunities, one of them being being an entrepreneur. So my standing joke goes that what is worse than a failed entrepreneur is an entrepreneur who failed to start. So that's me. Corona had its, I would say, collateral damages. One of them was my entrepreneur, dream. But anyway, that's aside, and I'll probably get back to doing a corporate role later on. So that's briefly about myself. Married, 2 children, have 2 boys in high school. I'm sure they'll fly off soon, and we'll be an empty nester, back again. So that's briefly about me. Firstly, thank you very much, Dr. Kaushik, who invited me, to this August audience. I really have huge respects, for the healthcare professional, especially, at times like this where you are putting, your responsibility, your duty ahead of your own personal, health and rising up to the cause. So a huge thank you. It's because of people like you that people like me are sitting safe at home. So thank you very much for that. And with that, let me just move on to the topic. I was asked to talk about return on capital employed to this audience, very well knowing that you probably come from a non-finance background and not necessarily appreciate everything. So I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to just keep my discussion to just 2 or 3 slides so that you get the gist of it. First, we will start with what's the definition of ROCE and why is it important? And then we'll get into what are the influence drivers and how do I control it? And especially if you are, and most likely you will be, not working in the finance department per se, then you're wondering, what the hell do I do? Because this seems like a finance metric. So we will make it clear, and at the end of 20 minutes, hopefully you should have a perspective of it. Firstly, very simple. I mean, ROCE stands for return on capital employed. So it's simply like you have a 1 lakh of rupees, you go and, put a fixed deposit in a bank and you get money, in return, and it's 8% is the FD rate. So 8% is ROCE for you. Yeah. So that's very simple. It's your capital, you gave it and you got 8%, as return. That's what it stands for, and no different for businesses as well. So it is, but if you it is depicting the profitability of the business and how efficiently the business is deploying its capital. Yeah, and we'll come to that in a bit. So higher the ROCE, the more attractive the company is. So very simple. If a bank says, with risk remaining the same, one of them says, I will give you 8% interest, another one says 8.5% interest, where will you go and invest? Yeah, so it's very simple for investors as well. So higher the ROCE, more attractive the company, not just from an investment point of view, but it's also a way in which it depicts how well the company is run. Yeah, that they're able to sustainably maintain that higher level of ROCE. And it should at least be higher than the cost of capital. I mean, if you raise a capital, there is a certain cost. So for example, capital can be made of debt and equity. So if I go to a bank and take a loan, to run my business, and I need to pay an interest to the bank, at least the return that my business generates should be higher than the interest. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for me to take that capital at all in the first place. Now, that's the technical financial definition. So the question that you'll actually have in your mind is, oh, I'm from Sankara Foundation. We are an NGO. We are here in a charitable cause. So why should we be making money? Yeah, I mean, profit is not for us. So this is not about profit. It's very important to understand that, and in your case, it's not like as if 100% of your annual expenses are through funds, which are donations, but there is a certain portion. And even if assuming 100% is, through that, ideally, if I'm someone who is, donating that money, I wouldn't want to see my money get wasted. I would like to see my money get spent wisely, optimally, get invested, because it's not just expenditure. You're probably also investing in infrastructure, in medical equipment, on a lot of things. And I would like to see it invested in an optimal way so that it generates returns for your own organization, let alone, because I am not giving that money so that I can see a return, but do you run the business, do you run the hospital, in an efficient manner is what is important. So with that set aside, let me try and, unpeel the onion for you in short bits. I mean, I call it a ROCE tree, yeah, because the moment you say ROCE, and if I'm a clerk working in a stores, or if I'm a nurse attending to a patient, very clearly he or she may have a question as to what can I do to influence it. It seems to be, a financial metric. So the guy is in finance department and accounts department, and senior management people can take care of it. So what do I have a role? And that's where, the beauty of ROCE tree comes into play, that you can break this down into various components. So every person in the organization understands his or her role in, I would say, preserving or improving the ROCE of the hospital. As I said, ROCE is return on capital employed. It is made up of two parts. First is its net profit margin, and second is capital productivity. Let me first take you through the branch of net profit margin. So you make profit. Net profit margin is the final profit you make after deducting all expenses, paying all taxes, everything done. So how much money have you earned at the end of the day? So, very simple. If it is 3% and your capital productivity is 2x, then you make 6%, ROCE. That's very simple, the math of how ROCE works. Yeah. So it's net profit margin, and net profit margin can be broken down into three components, gross profit, and let me build the entire tree first, and then we can talk. It's built up into gross margin, into marketing expenditure, and overheads management. Now, pick and choose the ones which are relevant for you, which are not relevant for you. Probably, I don't think you are that much into marketing at all. So you're not a commercial enterprise. So let's ignore marketing for a minute. Yeah. So let's talk about gross margin. Now, what is gross margin? And you may or may not have these terms, but it's important to understand that when I am delivering a product or a service to my patient, it could be a simple consultation, or it could be a very, I would say, serious and a complicated, surgery and post-operative care, and, and the entire works that you may actually offer. So those costs that are directly variable to that product, to that service, and even a little bit of, I would say, fixed costs, that are attributable, to that product or service. And if you deduct your such costs from how much you have earned from the patient, that is your gross margin. Why is gross margin important? Gross margin is very important because if you don't make money at gross margin level, then it means fundamentally you've got a wrong business model. Fundamentally, your pricing is not right. Or if your pricing is right and competitive with other hospitals, then your cost structure is not right, yeah, in order to meet that. So it's very important for you to understand if you are making money at a gross margin level. Let's assume you make money at a gross margin level. What are the three drivers to either improve it or arrest, its negative decline? The first and foremost important part, as I mentioned, is cost. Yeah, and you need to control, cost. And I'll talk about price in a bit. There are a lot of industries. It's not just hospitals. There are a lot of industries where the businesses do not have an ability to increase price with the increase in costs. Yeah. So my cost went up by 10%. So let me take price up by 10%. So, my profitability is maintained. A lot of industries do not have that luxury, yeah, that they are able to price. Let's take, television. Yeah. You get a new model of, of television. So you had HD, then now you have 4K, now you have 8K, you have, I don't know, whatever. It'll keep on going. Are you paying double the price, triple the price? We're probably paying the same amount of price that we've been paid for a television, 15 years ago, give out, take a little bit for inflation. But typically that's been this, the same price. Take mobile phones, for example. A new model of mobile phone comes, an Apple iPhone comes, or a Samsung comes. They downgrade the price of the earlier model and, and give you the same price, for the new model. Some of them may charge a little bit of a premium, but it's in the same, ballpark. Is it that those companies do not have cost increases? They don't pay salaries, or inflation or merit increase for their staff. They don't have rental increases. What do they have? They have all sorts of cost inflation, but their ability to actually price is very limited in the market. When you have the ability to price very limited in the market, then you try and control the costs within your ability. I mean, in Hindi, there is a saying which says, "Jitni chadar utna pair phailao," which means that I extend my feet only to the extent, how much, my blanket can take, and that is very important in a hospital environment where, especially when you have service, charity, as the motto, and your clientele come from very disadvantaged backgrounds, where your ability to actually price is limited. In which case, you need to have a ruthless control, on cost. What do you mean by mix? Mix is ideally, not something which I will use in a hospital kind of an environment, but in a commercial. But it's important for you to understand, because there are avenues for you to be able to do that, and I'll give you examples of it. You should, try and maximize those returns, because there will be a certain kind of customers who will always want to pay that little bit of extra premium in order to get that little bit of better service or better product. Yeah. So therefore, I want to deny them, that flexibility or that offering, because ideally that should come to you at a better profitability than your basic, products and services that you offer. So for example, I have a stay in a general ward, then, I pay a certain, rental, then I pay in a, I want to stay in a separate room, it's obviously a little bit higher, but that should give you a slightly more profit than, it can't be that the only extra cost that you incur is what you're actually charging. You should charge a little bit more because it becomes a little bit more profitable. Or I want the privacy of a deluxe room or a super deluxe room, then obviously, as it goes up, you get charged. Or I want a 24 care, I want a post-operative care, and I want someone at home to be actually taking care of me. Those are all suddenly become premium end services, where when you drive them harder, yeah, you actually get more bang for your buck, which means that your gross margin at a weighted average basis improves, and you're able to fund that to the business. We talked about marketing, so I'm not going to discuss any further on it because it's not that much relevant. But suffice enough to say that even marketing needs to give a certain return on its investment, and it cannot be blind marketing for the sake of marketing. Yeah. Very important is overheads management. Two things. I mean, in hospital, most of your costs are fixed costs. Yeah. You have a certain level of staff, you have a certain level of infrastructure, you have a certain level of electricity and utilities that you need to pay, so that is taken care of. Whether patients come in or not, the hygiene and cleaning of your corridors, of your rooms, keeping them infection free, all of that are, I would say, base element of cost. The more throughput you have in your hospital, the less number of vacant beds that you actually have, you will actually be able to apportion those fixed costs over a larger volume. So that's most important, so that you actually drive that throughput. Secondly, you're also then trying to say as to, how do I keep that rotation, of patients, coming in and going out, so I'm able to distribute to a larger base. The most important thing, most important thing in a hospital is waste. I would say a war on waste is extremely important. The reason why it's important is you're carefully looking at what is the price. You're carefully, scrutinizing every element of cost and pricing a certain product or a service, to your patients. Then after having done that, to end up wasting it, which you cannot charge back to the customer, is criminal. Yeah. So as a hospital, the war on waste needs to be extremely high. It's a delicate, I need to, that I'm going to dunk in, liters and liters of, soap and sanitizer, and waste all over the place. So you need to have that balance of how do I maintain the entire thing. Moving on, the next element is capital productivity. Now, for all the mathematicians in your head, you may be wondering, saying, how is ROCE a product of these two? Very simple. I mean, what is ROCE? Return divided by capital employed. Profit margin is profit divided by sales, and capital productivity is sales divided by capital. So sales gets cancelled. It's back to profit divided by, divided by capital employed. So that's, how the formula works. I'm not going to bore you with more formulas. So just in case if you don't, follow as to why I broke this down, is why I give an example as to what it is. Now comes to the, element of capital. So you have set up a hospital or a set of hospitals, and you have put in money, on building that infrastructure or procuring, equipments or anything for that matter, that is actually needed for you to run. There are two elements of capital. There is a element of fixed assets and there's an element of, working capital. So I'll take you through both of them. Fixed assets can be, looked at in two elements. Now I've got an MRI machine, yeah, and am I getting utilization, which means is it working 24/7? Yeah. I mean, assuming it has the capability of working 24/7. The moment that every time it actually lies idle, it is occupying a certain space and it is not generating a revenue. Yeah. That's the reason why, for example, all manufacturing organizations will work 3-shift operations, because a human being can normally work, 8 hours, but a machine can go on for 24 hours if it is maintained well. Yeah. So why would I invest a huge amount of lakhs and crores of rupees to keep the machinery idle? Yeah. Ideally, I would like to run it 24/7, which is no different for, for a hospital. I have set up the hospital, it's open, 24/7. Can I, utilize its infrastructure, whether it is rooms or whether it is entire hospital premises or the equipment that are there, within, the utilization. The next one is efficiency. Yeah. Now, this may be a little less relevant, for you, highly relevant in manufacturing organization. If a machine is supposed to produce 100 units per hour, is it producing 100 units per hour? Because if it's producing only 80 units, it may work 24 hours, but, its output is reduced by 20%. Now, likewise, this can be extended to the upkeep of your medical equipment. How much downtime, is my MRI machine or an X-ray machine actually having? If that downtime is there, then every, minute, hour, day of downtime is loss of revenue for you. And therefore, you should look at, every element from the lens of utilization. Am I utilizing it, 100%? And is it working to its, full efficiency? So that's the way of looking at it. The next element is working capital. This is probably, the sole domain of the finance, department, but it's important for you to know, because you also have a role, in the entire thing, because as doctors and as nurses, you probably take the authority to, order, consumables. And it's very important for you to understand, because there are 3 elements, into working capital as well. It is nothing but, how much money you have invested in buying stocks, consumables for which is yet to be charged to you. So it's still lying as inventory for you. Then there is something that you need to pay, and there is something that you need to receive. Yeah. I am hoping and assuming that you probably don't sell on credit, so most billing is cash. Most, I would say, patients, check out and they actually pay, money when they actually check out. There's no such, concept in a hospital environment. And how much money you pay as, as creditors. I mean, normal thing, just because you are an NGO operating, that doesn't mean that you need to pay your suppliers, immediately, on cash. I'm sure you're not. But you should also do it in a very sensible way. It can't be that I pay 6 months later or 12 months later. I mean, whatever is the market, rate, 60 days, 90 days. And if a supplier wants to, to take money early, and I'm sure you would be getting requests from a lot of suppliers saying that, sir, cash flow problem, can you give me money a little bit early? The standard practice that is actually followed by most companies is there is a discounting rate that is applied. So I will give you, give me 1%, for every 15 days, or 2% for every month, or, of early payment that I actually do. And, and that's standard, because end of the day, you need that cash to reinvest back into the business. Because if you run out of cash, you can't pay salaries, to your staff, you can't buy consumables, you can't pay your utility rents and stuff like that. So it becomes very important, and cash becomes a lifeline, for your organization. So I've tried to break this down, and I'm, it's been a monologue, so I'm going to, pause in a bit. I've tried to break this down into various components. So what seemed like a financial and accounting metric at the left of the chart, look at ROCE. Suddenly, if I break this down to the very end, yeah, to be able to see how it can be broken down into various components. So I could be a store clerk, I could be a nurse, I could be a receptionist, but I exactly know, what my role in that. With that said, I just want to end with only one picture. Yeah. And this picture is, is my final thought. When you ask, when one gentleman actually went through, and there were 2 set of people who were doing this job. So he went to the first set and asked them, what are you doing? And these 2, workers there said, we are cutting stones. Yeah. And the same guy went, a few feet further, and there were 2 more people who were actually, doing the same task. And he asked, what are you doing? and they said, we are building a temple. Yeah. And that's, I would say my summary, in here. I could be a store clerk issuing, only materials. Yeah. But that's not my role. That's the task that I actually perform. My role is, end of the day, realizing the vision, of Sankara Eye Foundation, realizing, giving dignity, in health, in, providing the best patient care. And as a result of all of that, I also deliver ROCE by doing a certain, just a means to a vision. Your vision still, is what you actually want to do for your patients. And it's very important, for us to be able to keep energizing, each of our frontline, workers, to be able to say as to how they are contributing to the full vision, of the hospital. So with that, let me end my thought, and hopefully, this was informative and useful for all of you. Thank you very much for your attention and patience.